I'm Patrick Sheridan,
I'm Joe Badolato.
and we are both in the band Fit for an Autopsy.
Autopsy.
And I don't know, we were asked to kind of give a statement about what art and I guess the direction of art does for us.
Or the reason of why we do what we do to live the
Meaning.
somewhat weird lifestyle that we live,
Yeah.
but it's a
It's an interesting lifestyle. It's kind of more demanding, I think, than a lot of people expect or think. We spend a lot of time spending our own money and traveling a lot, funded by ourselves. You know, we hope to make enough money and get through the tour in a way that we come home and we can recoup what we spend, or, you know, be able to live and pay our bills. But, you know, at this point in our career, it's getting easier, but it's definitely not the easiest thing we can do. But because of the way we get to express how we feel and the things we think through our music, it makes it worth it. You know, the small arguments and the shitty sleeping conditions, floors, and sleeping in vans, and, you know, eating, you know, food and not being able to keep our normal regimen of whatever it is that we might do. It sounds very difficult, and at times it is, but it's also a stress reliever, and it makes me personally, I'm not going to speak for Joe, but it makes me personally feel like I'm contributing and giving back something that was given to me when I was a kid. And music was something I could always turn to when I was having a bad day, or I was depressed, or I was pissed off at my parents or my teachers, or dealing with life. So being able to give that back is a good feeling.
yeah, playing shows, like, you know, for me, it was never about the money. Like, I knew going into this that I wasn't going to make money. Like, I wasn't going to be able to pay my rent. I wasn't going to be able to, like, be around to have a girlfriend that I can go, like, I could take you out to dinner, I could do all these nice things, because then at the end of the day, that money needs to go to my bills for when I'm gone. So, like, in all, like, that sucks to some people, but for me, like, music's kind of been the only thing that's really made me feel like a human. It made me feel like a person. So, like, I don't care if I'm playing in front of 5 people. I don't care if I'm playing in front of 1,000 people. Just getting up there and being able to just relieve myself of all the bullshit and negativity in my life by playing music, like, that's the best thing for me every time. And, like, it's so crazy. This is my first time in Europe, and screaming into a microphone for 10 years paid off for me to do this. Well, fuck, man, that's awesome. I'm sorry, curse, but, like, it's so sick. Like, I never thought I'd be able to get to this level where I'd be able to just, like, come around Europe, and it's beautiful. It's so sick.
Yeah. This is our second time in Europe. First time we were here with Suicide, Silence, and Die Artist Murder. So this is a much smaller tour, but it's kind of cool too, because, you know, I'm seeing people that, you know, came out on the last tour, like, just ran into somebody who, you know, came to see us and has kept in touch through the internet, and, you know, making friends everywhere. And the crazy idea that I can come to Germany and see somebody that, you know, I met 2 years ago that's still, like, stoked to hang out and check out the band, and then, like, people paying more attention, people buying more records. It's real flattering, you know. It's something that, I guess because I'm older, maybe I appreciate it a little bit more. You know, I'm 40. I have a wife and a kid, and, like, I have, like, a regular person's life at home, as regular as I can be. And it definitely translates to some more difficult times, but for the thing that we're doing, you know, some people consider it art, some people consider it music, some people hate it and consider it noise. But I mean, there's really nothing in my life that I can ever compare to it besides the birth of my son and my wife. Like, those two things make me feel as good as music. So if you can take, you know, all those feelings that you have as, say, a person that doesn't play music or doesn't get the same kind of gratification, say, like, somebody telling you that is very important in your life, a person that has done a lot for you telling you they love you, it's kind of the same feeling I get when I play music and I see people experiencing it in, like, a family kind of way. It's like your brother or your mother, you know, experiencing this thing with you because they identify with the feeling that comes from the music. And, you know, having an identity is so important, and it's so life-changing to a person to be able to find out where they belong. And when I'm on stage and people are screaming the lyrics back, and their spit is flying on me, and like there's people flying all over, and I look over and Joe's in the crowd and his feet are in the air, and like I'm getting covered in water and spit and people throwing bottles, and
It's
like
fun, man.
it's just
so much fun.
It's like they understand how guys like us feel, and that is the best gift other than my son. It's the best gift I've ever gotten, you know, and it's uncontrollably satisfying, you know, and I don't know at this point after doing it for, you know, touring as hard as we have been for 4 years, like giving that up is real hard, you know. I got a house and a wife and all that shit, and I'm not ready to quit yet. It's just too much, you know.
Yeah, I just came from, like, I was home before I even joined this band, like a few years before I was even asked. It was kind of rough, wasn't making a lot of money, couldn't afford to keep myself at home, so I figured out how to cut hair and be a barber, and learned from a few people, and then I was actually able to get my shit together and actually get myself my own place and be able to provide for myself. And then I 2 years after that of being comfortable and having money and knowing what it feels like to actually enjoy having money, I get asked to be in a band, and the first thing they say is, "Are you ready to be broke?" I was like, "Again?"
Yeah, broke.
Damn.
Don't get it bent. We don't make money.
I didn't even think twice. I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I knew I became a barber because, man, everybody needs a haircut. I mean, maybe not needs, but most people want a haircut. It's an easy industry for me to take on the road with me, and it also is another art or a craft that I could do on the road, so it keeps my mind elsewhere. So it's been pretty awesome. But like going back to being broke, I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything because I'm here in Germany right now. Like, I'm earning my keep, like, and I feel like the more effort and the more I push and fight through all the bullshit, it all pays off for me in the end. Maybe for other people it doesn't pay off the same way for me, but I don't feel the same way that they do. I don't act the same way that they do. Like, what I get out of this is fulfilling enough for me to keep trucking through the shit, so I love it.
Yeah, and for me, like, something that always keeps me moving and keeps my head where it needs to be is, like, you make a lot of friends in the industry when you play and you're doing that whole thing. So, you know, I know that the Suicide Silences and the Slayers and the Machine Heads and the Whitechapels and, you know, the Amures and all these different bands that fall into our genres, you know, they all started right here in the same spot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, those bands are huge, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, well, they're huge because they were willing to eat shit every fucking day. And if you're not willing to do that and you're not hungrier than we are, we're going to go farther. And it doesn't matter what anybody says, like, you have to be hungry. You have to want it. And the minute you don't want it, you quit. You know, every band, Periphery, it doesn't matter what genre you fall in. It could be Radiohead or, you know, any of these bands. They all started here.
You could apply that to anything in your life, like any art form in general. It doesn't just have to necessarily be a touring band or a musician.
If you're not hungry,
you have to be hungry. And, money doesn't sleep.
So there's
effort. Yeah, man, it's sick.
And that's the thing. Like, it's not about doing better than any other band. It's just knowing that all of those bands came exactly where we are or from where we are to where they are. So it's this little inspirational thing within, you know, the spirit of good music and lighthearted competition. You know what I mean? Like, you work your ass off, you get somewhere, and I'll be broke doing what I love while other people are happy and with their bank accounts and miserable waking up every day and looking at themselves in the mirror because they have to sit in a fucking cubicle. I could never survive that way. But
I had to, but if I don't,
which
I had a choice. I had a choice. I could have said no. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
I could stay home.
Probably be smarter to go home and make a real living.
Barbershop going. I had so much money.
Yeah, but you want to know what?
It doesn't matter.
Everybody could have done something. You're doing everything you want.
I wouldn't want to look back and regret not taking this decision. Like, it's cheesy as fuck, but like, you do only have one shot at like living a life that you get to choose, and like, you are the narrator. And like, I feel like if I didn't make a lot of these, I made so many shitty choices in my life too, but if it wasn't for those shitty choices, I wouldn't have learned from them, and I wouldn't be here today. So
I wouldn't have my son.
I'm not ashamed of anything that I've done.
Yeah.
And to anybody who thinks any different and thinks that this life is different, get in a fucking van with your friends, get some music, get together, go out and do it, and you'll see. There's no instant success. And I'm good with that because the hustle is what makes us appreciate this, you know? So
watching other people that do the same thing, like when we're on tour with other bands, like everybody's like, oh, you guys get along so well, like so fast. It's like, because we all are doing the same shit. Like we all, like, if I see that someone's having a bad day in another band, like, I get it, man. I've been there too. Like, we're all leaving home. We're all leaving all that shit behind us. And like, we just have to think about every day as it goes. We can't think about the stuff at home. Like, granted, it's hard to separate that stuff, but like, we have to do it.
yeah, and anybody that has a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a band and they're out on tour and you feel like they're leaving you, well, you get to sleep in your bed every night and you get to eat with your spoons and forks and you get to take showers every day and you get to go and live your life while not only are they out on the road missing you and away from you, but they're away from everything that they have. I'm away from my son, my wife, my family, my mother, my food, my bed, you know, my television, my collection of guitars, all my art equipment, like everything is home. And I'm sacrificing all of that for this, whatever it is that's going to happen. So, you know, I have a really good support system at home. My wife is great, but I see a lot of people, you know, squandering their relationships with guys and girls in bands because they feel like they're neglected. Like, that's another thing too. It's almost impossible to keep a relationship doing this job.
That's a choice for that other
Yeah,
person.
it
At
is.
the same
But
time.
I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a big sacrifice being out here. You know, while other people get to be home, you're like, oh, it's such a cool job. The shit is cool for the 2 hours that you're at the show, but you know, the 8-hour drives and the, you know, no money and the fucking sleeping in a hot van and doing all that shit. It's a sacrifice that I gladly make, but it's nice to go home to somebody that cares about that sacrifice. You know what I mean? So
What does that feel like?
I'll always love you, Joe. I'll always love you. I guess that's it. You know, I really don't know what else to say. It's, you know, it's a pleasure being out here, and thank you to everybody that makes it possible for me to, you know, sacrifice all this shit just so I can play for you, and you make the difference. You know, like.
Yeah, thank you guys
Yeah.
for showing up to shows
And
and,
thank you-
like listening to this. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
thank you for coming to a show in fucking Germany and being interested in what we have to say. Like, that's amazing to me. So, you know, it's cool, but thanks.
Thanks.